Coming up on the dirty side of the track this week, Zap Snacks, Japanese edition.
At least I might have missed it. It was also cheese ball time.
I didn't.
So I didn't. I found some organic cheese balls and they're quite good.
Rob spots something during the safety car.
Maybe we could have got the race going a bit quicker if it wasn't for the marshals being equipped with witches' brooms.
Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. That's Rob, I'm Brian. Today was the Japanese Grand Prix. I thought it was better than expected, let me put it that way. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think we'll come on to this later. It's interesting, the crossroads and the conundrum that F1 finds itself in right now. But I'll hold that. I'll keep that powder dry. Hold it until later. So, yep, we will be doing our Japanese Grand Prix review. We've got some little bit of news and social. We've got some videos stashed in the video vault. We don't have a preview because it will be 87 years until the next race.
Oh, you joke, but I looked at Fantasy. Next team lock deadline, 33 days.
Oh. It's not that bad. It's just April. Just go outside, touch some grass, have fun. It's all fine.
All right.
So, let's jump into the news. The news post the race kind of focused on Max. The news before the race focused on Max as well. So it's a Japanese sandwich on the bread of Max Verstappen. But anyway, just to keep our
correct use of the analogy working.
Yes, I had to make sure I did. I almost called it a Max sandwich, and then I would have just been kicked off the pod forever. So
those are the rules.
Don't name a sandwich after the bread. Right. Anyway. Max, talking of sandwich filling, Max still has beef with a journalist from last year. He was doing the media session on Thursday and he refused to start until one of the journalists was kicked out. The quote was, 1 second, I'm not speaking before he's leaving, and points to a dude from The Guardian. The guy said, are you being serious? He said, yep. And he's like, yep, get out. He said, you're really still upset about this last year? And it was a question at Abu Dhabi that he raised. And he said, yep, get out. So the reporter had to leave the room. And then Verstappen said, now we can start.
I mean,
do you know what the question was that he was bristling over?
I do. It was last year in Abu Dhabi where Max lost the championship by 2 points. And the question from the journalist was, had you not run into George on purpose in Spain and lost points because of it and the position in the race, you might have won. Do you think about that? I believe that was the question.
Yeah. And he didn't like it back then, and it's obviously stuck with him. Now, the dude from The Guardian did a piece where I guess he put himself in the story. He said, look, journalists don't like to be the story. They like to write about the story, but I've got to kind of clear the air here. And he was sort of recounting what had happened in Abu Dhabi. He said, look, maybe I felt a bit nervous asking that question because it was a bit of a, hey, Max, if you hadn't done that thing, you might be champion. So he said, maybe I had a nervous smile on my face that Max took as me being a bit of a douche, but whatever. End of the day, journalists are there to ask the questions. Drivers are paid mega millions to be there and race and answer questions. So come on, Max, get over it.
I totally agree. I totally thought it was a very fair question. I don't understand why he's getting so angry about it. It actually is a fair question. Now, Max's answer at the time was also fair. A lot happens throughout the year. You can't pinpoint one thing that changed the entire championship. Yeah. But yeah, man, let's move on and let the journalists do their things. Speaking of Max, there's been a long dalliance between Max and another team, and we'll talk about Max at the end of the race. And that team's been Mercedes, and Toto's always had his eye out for Max, and Lollipop Man always nails it. Every time, Toto with the contract, chasing Max around. And so Mercedes was embroiled for about 12 hours in active Aerogate, where, and Rob, I'm going to let you kind of hit this a little better than I, because I read it while I was on the road. There was footage that showed the active aero on the Mercedes closing slower than it was supposed to close.
Yeah, and in two phases, apparently. So, oh my gosh, this is nerdism at the highest level. But somebody had filmed the Mercedes. I would never, you could have shown me that clip a million times and I would have never have caught it because apparently, as everybody knows, Article 3.10.10 of F1's technical regulations stipulates that the transition time between the two modes of the front and rear wings can be no longer than 0.4 seconds. And somebody filmed it, and it was obviously 0.8. I mean, my eyes pick up the difference between 0.4 and 0.8 on a regular basis.
Well, not only do my eyes pick it up, I also know in my mind Article 3.10.10 says... What?
So they were then being... Obviously, the internet ran with this conspiracy theory. Oh, they're measuring it at the point where at 0.4 it's moved half of the way, and that's enough to satisfy the regs, and then it stays open for another 0.4 and then shuts again. So it's like flexi wing all over again, but now it's flexi aero or non-shutting aero, whatever we want to call it. So it was all a big kerfuffle for, like Brian said, about 12 hours, and then Mercedes came out and said, look, we use hydraulic pressure to close the wing at maximum speed. We did a miscalculation in China where we didn't send enough hydraulic pressure and it couldn't fight the air that was coming onto the car and basically pushing the wing, keeping the wing open. As soon as we slowed down, the hydraulic pressure overcame the air difference and it popped shut again. So, yeah, we screwed up. We didn't apply enough hydraulic pressure to counter the air. And the FIA went, yeah, sounds legit. Move on, everyone.
I am a little surprised that that was the FIA's response, if I'm being honest, because if the regulation says you have this much time, it's really not anyone's fault but Mercedes that it wasn't closing at the right pace. And I feel like in the past we've seen things like this where a team says we made a mistake and the FIA is like, well, you're going to pay for it because you ran afoul of Article 3.10.10 by 0.04 of a second, and therefore you must fry. I mean, like I feel like we've seen overly penal responses to something like this. I'm fine with this, so I'm not like looking for a penalty.
Yeah.
I was just surprised the FIA was also calling it a nothing burger.
Yeah, I think if we'd seen it happen again in Japan, which, I mean, according to my eyes, I didn't see any 0.4.
You didn't see it? You were watching carefully.
No, I looked at it, and every single time that was 0.4 seconds, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
If it had carried on, then we might have seen something happen.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing happened with FlexiWing. The FIA came around and went, no, it passes the test, so everyone else needs to shut up. So everyone had to shut up. So here they just went into miscalculation. There really is nothing to resolve. We just got to pump more hydraulic fluid through when the downforce is that high, I guess. But
I guess
that was it. That was all I found in the news this week, really. It was quite a slow week.
it was. They're saving up all the news for the next month where we're going to
It better be, because we need stuff to talk about.
We most certainly do. But what we have to talk about now before the race weekend is, of course, the video vault. So, as I mentioned, it's been a couple weeks, well, more than that. It's been a lot of weeks on the road this year for me. So, I did not have as much time, but I did find some good stuff that I know you all will like. First, behind the scenes of the F1 opening titles on the Formula One channel, 18 minutes. This dropped the day we recorded last weekend, which was a Saturday. So it's a day late, technically, for the vault, but I'm going to relax the regs. If the FIA can say the hydraulic pressure was fine for Mercedes, the way they did it, then Brian's vault rules get relaxed. And
I was going to say, is this in breach of Brian's video vault rules 3.10.10?
Of course. And so the reason I'm highlighting this is not just because it was fun watching the drivers behind the scenes of making the titles. But Pitlane Paul has a really big cameo in this, and I've been meaning to send him a picture of himself. But the time difference to Japan is one where I don't want to wake him up with WhatsApp notes going through, and every time I remember, it's too late. So within the first minute, you get a big Pitlane Paul in the back of a golf cart with Valtteri. So if you want to go say hi to Pitlane Paul, check it out. The second video, Max and Checo react to F1 drivers' old tweets on the Oracle Red Bull Racing channel, 4 minutes. Okay, this is from the back of the vault. This is actually the special video cellar we have back there where they age like fine wine. And the reason I'm talking about this was it was so good. Max and Checo, when they were friendly, basically ripping into other drivers' tweets, but Max being able to see his own tweets as he's complaining about things. He goes, oh, that's me, mate. That's the way I would have done it. And it was. And so for some reason, I found this. The algorithm gave it to me, and I shall pass on the algorithm's gold. My IndyCar season started like this on the Mick Schumacher channel, 7 minutes. Yes, I'm still subscribed to the Mick Schumacher channel, mainly because Rob's my buddy, and Rob still loves Mick Schumacher. I enjoyed seeing some of the behind-the-scenes parts of an F1 transplant is to a IndyCar rookie, because I've watched a handful of the IndyCar races so far this year, St. Pete being the first of the season, and he crashed out on like the third corner, which was a bummer for the team. And but then they showed him on an oval and what he's been learning, and I thought it was really good. So if you have any interest in Mick or an F1 driver moving to other categories, definitely check that one out. And then the good one to close on. Can you guess these 20 F1 racetracks from above? Geography quiz number 8, the Imperator channel. 9 minutes. This was hard. So, of course, at the beginning, it's incredibly easy. Like, they show you Spa from above, and they zoom in. Like, it's obviously Spa, and you can see the colors of the Belgian flag. You know, it's Spa. But then they get to some mediums and hards, and then the impossibles. I missed 3 of the 20, and I was okay with it, because the ones I missed were, I mean, and you don't have a lot of time. Like, you know, no pausing, okay? If you're doing this, just go with the timing of the quiz. And I'm sitting here racking my brain and trying to get it. So, anyway, can you guess these tracks? Check out the show notes for the link on YouTube. I missed 3. How good can you guys do? I'm sure most of you will beat me, but I enjoyed it. So with that, let's close the vault and talk about Suzuka.
Did you abandon the vault podium after just one outing? Is that?
I can't pick. It's like telling my daughters which one's my favorite. I can't do that. So
You did it last week.
yeah, because
those videos are going to be feeling really hurt now that they between them.
They should. They should be feeling hurt.
Okay, I guess I could have had this in the news because this has technically came out during the beginning of the week, but it's Livery Watch, special Livery Watch. We'd seen the Racing Bulls last week. Brian wasn't a fan. I actually thought it looked pretty cool on track.
I do agree.
Bulls.
Better in person than the pictures we saw. So Racing Bulls went up for me as I saw them live.
I've got to give, I think, a chef's kiss. I do really like the way that Haas added Godzilla to the side of their car. It just worked. They didn't go too crazy with changing the livery too much. They just wanted to do a nod to the partnership with whoever it was that you mentioned last week, that I honestly listened to every word you say, Brian. But
the studio who owns Godzilla. But keep going.
Correct. Yeah. So I really like that. And I'm big. You already know that this is my favorite livery anyway, the Haas this year, and it just looks so good out on track. Unfortunately, when we get there later, it doesn't stay on track for the entire race. But and then we had, well, I want your input on this one, Brian. So Mercedes launched some Wolf-inspired livery. Now, I know it probably isn't. I'm sure there's some proper reason why they picked this, but it just feels a little bit self-indulgent that Toto Wolff's got a wolf on the front of his car. Just, if I was in that position, I might have gone, that's not a great look. That just looks like it's all about me. Can we pick a different animal? But
I didn't read about this. I saw it, but I didn't read why. I don't care. It was a nothing burger until I saw the race suits, and they were covered in Floviz. Why would someone sprayed Floviz from the bottom up? That looked terrible.
No, you got it wrong. It's not Floviz. And the internet was all over this.
I was being nice.
No, not anything. No mind in the gutter, Brian. Oh my gosh, we're not going back to the Ferrari hat. I'm on about. Lots of people came in and was like Ben that has been on the pod and did the Valtteri counting and finish for us. He's like, yeah, I remember doing some drywall once, and when I finished, I kind of looked at myself in my overalls that I'd got on, and I got half the drywall all over me. It looks like that. And I was like, yeah, I remember one time when I was doing some spray painting, and I didn't really look to see what was around me. And when anybody that's done spray painting, if you don't do it well away from everything else, that stuff kind of carries in the air, and you might accidentally spray some stuff that maybe is owned by your wife that it wasn't supposed to get on. And I was like, yeah, that just reminds me of the time that I accidentally spray painted a jacket. But so
amazing. Yeah, I didn't.
The thing that the internet really went to town on, which I don't know if it's true, if it was just a trick of the camera angle. If it was a trick of the camera angle, they maybe shouldn't use this picture. Was they didn't get the wolf centered on the front. The nose of the wolf is to the right of the Mercedes logo, and it just looks a bit wrong.
It totally is. Oh, that's fine.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So we get to the race weekend. I did not watch all of FP1 and 2. I told this to Rob during the week. I love every F1 race, and I will watch them all, but I'm running out of gas for the 1 a.m. races here in the U.S. 3 in a row, give or take a minute. But man, I can't wait to get anywhere else. And I was looking forward to the Middle East because usually that's a 6 a.m. kind of situation here, which is fine. Give me that on a Sunday. But I missed practice because, again, the timing and so forth. But what we did see, I watched the longer recaps. McLaren seemed to be back. But Rob and I both put that in there. McLaren, hello? McLaren question? McLaren, is this real? Albon was struggling mightily in FP1 and FP2. He hit a wall, he hit a Checo, and then he had no throttle, and he's on the track sitting there. Ferrari was sliding everywhere. Charles, the car was backwards, sideways the whole time. He was drifting around Suzuka in an F1 car. And Lewis then, with the same challenges, said, I have no confidence in this car. The last note I'll give on the practices is the internet went nuts after FP1 and FP2 because of the speed loss after 130R. People were still full throttle, but the speed loss was unbelievable. The average speed loss was 55 kilometers an hour. That's the average. The least speed lost was Hulk. The most was Colapinto at 70 kilometers an hour, but the average was 55. And the onboards were brutal because the foot is to the floor, the throttle is pinned, and you just hear the car rolling back as it's going down, up to the chicane. And I've tried to be like all in on the regs. I'm still not all out, but that hurt. Like watching that happen, that hurt. Like that was the first point for me this season where I said, yeah, this may not be working the way we want it to be working.
Yeah, no, agree. I watched FP3 live, and the commentators, they've got a job to do, but they're all being trying to big up how, he's throwing it around 130R. It's like, well, he's not really, is he? It's kind of.
I mean, Fernando Alonso was brutal. He basically said half the team could go out there and take it around the lap at this point because there's not enough high-speed cornering. There's not enough danger in the corners because everyone's harvesting. So they're backing off and they're collecting battery. He's like, this isn't that hard. I mean, Fernando's words. I mean, he's, a multiple champion and one of the best drivers of all time. But still, that's kind of the table setting going into the race. And again, I'm not trying to be all glass half empty. I'm just saying the news coming out of practice wasn't the best for the regs.
No, and then it got a little bit worse in my view for quali because I'm at a point where Saturday isn't really doing it for me anymore, and therefore I wasn't going to get up early and watch this. I already wrote this off that I'll just watch the highlights of quali. I can't stay up late to just watch. I don't know how to phrase this. Right, it's not a procession.
Nope.
But it's not really, to go with Fernando's view. It's not drivers throwing it around on the limit of grip to see if they can push that one corner just a little bit more to carry some more speed to see if they can eke a tenth out and get a better qualifying position because they just can't do it. Somebody came back to me I wrote this and said, I'm dying inside a little bit. I'm very torn because Saturdays are being nerfed, but Sundays are going up in excitement for wheel-to-wheel racing. So it's like, I don't know, do I want to stick with the racing and just sacrifice the Saturday? And somebody came back and said, oh, didn't you see Charles throw his car around the lap? I was like, yeah, I did. I know I'm going out a little bit out of order and we'll get there. But when Charles did try to absolutely nail it and go for it, he did a slower lap by 0.4 seconds. It looked ragged. It looked ragged on the ragged edge. He was driving how he would have driven last year's car by absolutely trying to throw it round corners. And we'll get to his radio message later. But it's fair to say if you try and drive it the way that people used to drive to eke out extra pace in quali, you won't find it. You just won't.
Not only that, he stood by when he was interviewed, and we'll talk about the radio message, but he stood by. He thought that was the fastest way this car gets around that track, that lap. So, yes, it was, wild looking. I had F1 TV commentary on for that one, and Julian Palmer apparently had to step back from the microphone because it was so risky what Charles was doing. I'm like, oh, come on, it was spoon curve. He took a little slide around it. It was fine. But yeah, so we lost. I'm with you. Can I say that? I'm with you. The Saturdays are becoming less and less important, and unfortunately, a combination of the Saturday devaluing also goes hand in hand with the Noah's Ark aspect. So it's not even really that confusing or surprising when things happen. We lost the Aston Martins, the Cadillacs, a Williams, and then Ollie Behrman. So that was a little bit of a surprise that Carlos got through. But otherwise, 5 of those 6 we expected to lose in Q1. So to Rob's point, Saturday is no longer as exciting, but it's even less exciting because of the Noah's Ark aspect to it. And for me, that just was a double kick. I couldn't sleep, so I watched this at about 3:30 in the morning, and then went back to bed. And you know what? I had no adrenaline going after Saturday's quali, so I went back to bed pretty nicely.
Hey, but look at Q2. Go and find a Noah's Ark in here. I think I'll go out on a limb and say no doubles in Q2.
No doubles. You're right.
Oh,
although
look at that.
we did. I mean, there are no doubles, but the fact that we now have both Haas's out because Ollie went out early, so Esti goes out, and then Carlos, of course, goes out, and then so in those regards, we kind of closed out. But yeah, we did have a few cars get into Q3, and I'm not getting ahead of myself, but a few that we didn't anticipate, which broke the Noah's Ark for Q2.
And that will be my one little kind of moment where I was like, oh, where I was kind of sat up and took notice when Lindblad came flying around the final corner. Like, can Lindblad knock Max out of qualifying? I was like, can he?
Does he know he's not supposed to?
Yeah, someone had a word with him, and boom, there it was. Max goes down to 11th and out. I was like, huh. Although I know we're only into the 3rd race, but after 2 races that we've seen, not really a massive surprise that Max didn't make it through, in all honesty. The Red Bull isn't looking fantastic, but his teammate made it through.
I
So
know.
Hadjar carrying the torch and trying to say, hey, that second seat curse, hold my beer.
I mean, I did like that. And yes, it was a surprise Ollie didn't make it through. He talked about some gremlins with the car in his lap. We've said, Rob and I, many times already that we believe it's Ollie and the gas man as best of the rest. But we'd at least I'd been putting Red Bull in the top teams. I don't think we can do that anymore. I think now it has to be just the top 3 are Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, and then it's the best of the rest. And that includes Max now. And so is he in there? Yeah. Is that car good? I don't know. It doesn't look like it. But yeah, Isaac made it. Our boy Isaac made it into Q3. Good job, Isaac. And then Lindblad, Bortoletto, and the Gas Man all into Q3, which was a surprise. Bortoletto for me. Audi is looking friskier than I gave them credit for the first race. I wasn't sure in China, but they're looking pretty good. And Hulk and Bortoletto kind of bring that car around. It's not as big a dog as I was kind of anticipating it being. I mean a compliment there. I know it didn't come out that way, but but yeah. So then we get into Q3. Kimi nails his first lap, just a monster, and no one could improve on their laps basically the rest of the time. Everyone's banker basically turned out to be what it was. I don't remember there being a lot of drama except Charles sliding around on his final lap into turn 4. We had Kimi,
which was the one that I referred to, which was the one that everyone was talking about it being, oh, look at him go. And he's like, yeah, well, he was slower. He was slower than his first run.
Totally.
So I do wonder, is that people go out and put bankers in under the new regs and they optimize the battery and get a really good run. And then I think maybe it's really hard to unlearn what you've been doing all your driving career, where your second lap, where you're really going to go for it, you really start trying to find that extra bit around corners, perhaps, and then you sacrifice straight line speed, and then you're done. You're toast. That's what it feels like. I mean, I'm sure it goes way deeper than that, but it just feels like when they go out for that second one, when they're all kind of all pumped up, right, I've got my banker in now, I'm really going to go for it, and you can't see, I don't think they've learnt yet what really go for it means in this car. Really go for it, I don't know, really charge the battery?
You a long extension cord, so during the start-finish straight.
110% charge.
Exactly. So we saw a slight, like we talked about, the top 3 teams. Kimi and George for Mercedes 1-2 for front row lockout. Oscar, hello. Welcome to a race, Oscar. Nice to have you join us in the McLaren 3rd. Charles in the Ferrari 4th. Lando in the McLaren 5th. And then Lewis in the Ferrari 6th. So the top 3 teams covering the top 6 spots. And then we had the sort of grab bag of the best of the rest. And I love this. I love these 4. This might be the thing for quali that's redeeming for me, is who's going to be in that best of the rest. Who's going to make a Q3 that we didn't necessarily anticipate. Pierre pulled up 7th. And boy, Pierre had a good weekend. He wasn't going to be my driver of the day, the king of the pits, but he's in the consideration because he had a great weekend. Isaac 8th. Gabriel Bortoletto 9th, and then Arvid, the rookie, in 10th, as we said it right, knocking Max out to move on to Q3, and then he held on to that 10th spot.
I
So,
would say I found this interesting that there was quite a few cars in that top 10 that didn't go quicker in Q3 than they'd done in Q2, which we don't normally see. People normally find that extra bit of juice in, and maybe again, this is maybe why it's a side effect of the regs. I don't know, but
yeah, very few actually.
yeah, yeah, just odd. Anyway, then we had Charles, the radio message. we'll we'll keep the naughty words out. We'll just. I honestly cannot stand these new rules for qualifying. It's a bleep joke. I go faster in corners. I get on the throttle earlier. For bleep's sake, I'm losing everything on the straight. So yeah, it was thrilled. I'm really thrilled with qualifying was Charles.
Can we agree? Um, is this the point? And we obviously have the race, which we're about to get into. But post race, are we sure that Red Bull's now a midfield team?
Yeah, I think they are.
I think they are.
There's a piece of commentary buried in here that really brought that home for me that I'll call out later because I know you watched the race separate to me, so you haven't seen my notes yet. But
No, I haven't.
yeah,
All right.
there's one moment where I actually, although it was bleary-eyed 1:30 a.m. or whatever it was when it popped up on the commentary, I was like, wow, that is pretty damning. So yeah, so we got the start of the race. I set my alarm for 12:50, so I'd get up 10 minutes before the race, and was really, really confused by why no one really seemed to be in much of a rush to get going for the formation lap as the clock ticked to 12:59 for me. I was like, what is going on? I reloaded Apple TV in case I was accidentally behind, and then I looked on BBC Sport and saw that there was a 10-minute delay because of that awful flip shunt thing. It was horrible in the support race. He just got airborne and over the fence.
Over the fence.
Not what you want to see.
No.
I totally understand why there was a 10-minute delay.
I mean, that was a horrible looking crash.
Then I got a little bit of. I'm a sucker for Jack Black. I love Tenacious D, and he did his little piece to camera, walking just before the intro music, I think. I think Jack Black should be at every race. That's it. Now
I did not see this.
If you don't like Jack Black, it would have probably wound you up horrifically, and you wouldn't have enjoyed it. If you're a Jack Black fan, then you would have enjoyed it.
I'm not a huge Jack Black fan, but I also don't hate him. So I'm one of the few in the middle who really don't give a rip. What I give a rip about, though, is the strategy. So can I talk about that? I turned it on early this morning on rerun, and I had forgotten they were using the hardest tires in the range.
This is what I'd written as well.
Yeah, so I'm in my notes here. The notes go, hardest tires, ugh. And then Bernie Collins comes on, expecting one stop.
Yeah.
Ugh. Everybody, 21 cars on the medium tires except Valtteri on the hards at the back. Ugh. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, there goes an entire stream of strategic impact from the tires and the way this is going to work. Man. And, I was thinking back to last year and Crofty, I had the Sky Sports feed for this one. Crofty says, last year the top 6 all finished in the same places. Actually, we broke the news that the top 10 all finished in the same places, bar Lewis passing one person. So it was 8 of 10 finished in the same place.
Absolute snooze fest last year.
Correct. And I look at these tires and I'm thinking, please don't let it be like last year, please.
So then I'm sitting and my eldest, Reese, is a Mercedes fan, and I texted him and said, are you ready for the incoming Ferrari rocket ship? And he was like, he said, if only Mercedes could fix their starts, maybe they'll get it right today. Well, they didn't. We talk about Mario Kart and when you need to hold the button down. Kimi held the button down from the beginning and got the full-on wheel spin where you don't get away from the line. I thought he'd messed up the start until we saw the onboards from behind and you just see all the smoke kind of... So yeah, he did the Mario Kart full throttle right from the beginning. You've got to go on 2. You've got to go on 2, Kimi.
Apparently McLaren has figured that out because they also had the mushroom.
Yes.
And the cool-down room, I'm going to steal from the end, but when Oscar says to Charles, you weren't kidding about the mushroom at the start. They took off like rockets. The McLarens, the Ferraris, and both Mercedes decided to leave the anchors out, a la Max Verstappen. We're just going to wait here for a few minutes till the chaos clears, and then we'll go.
By the first corner, Kimi had fallen from pole position to 6th. George had gone from the front row down to 4th. Lando was up to P3. Oscar was first, and Charles was in second. It was just... I am here for this. I don't want them to fix this. I like the disparity between different cars pulling away. I don't want to see, obviously, an accident of somebody running into somebody at the start like we almost saw in the other race. But And then if Kim is sitting there feeling sorry for himself, have a little spare a thought for Holt. Holt was down in 19th. He must have put the car in reverse.
I didn't see that. I missed that.
Had to have selected the wrong gear. I mean, he didn't start up really high. Where did he? He was 13th. But he lost 6 places. He said, if Kimmy can lose 6, then yeah, so can I.
I did, and so then again, a little bit of the pessimist in me was coming out. Again, I was tired. It was early in the morning, and I'm watching on rerun. So I'm trying my best to stay off my phone, and I'm getting texts and WhatsApps, and I'm getting notes, and I'm like, I can't look at any of that. And so I'm watching lap 2. Kimmy gets Lewis at the end of the straight. Nice into turn 1 move. And then you have the S's, and the announcers are like, well, this will be great because the S's are going to hold the driver behind off, and you can recharge. It's a great way to do this. And I'm thinking, all right, we got a little something here that we can watch. I was a little bit in my mind thinking it's kind of like a DRS overtake because it's the same spot DRS would have deposited someone right at the turn 1. And I'm like, but you know what? If it works, it works. Then Russell does the same thing on the next lap, and he gets Lando. And then the next lap, George now gets Charles at the exact same place. I'm thinking, oh, please don't make this just a corner of lap 1 overtake fest, and that's all there is. Thank God there wasn't, because what people started doing was, all right, what we're going to do is I'm going to charge coming out of Spoon. I'm going to take you on the way into or after 130R. I'm going to get you by the chicane. But what happened is the driver who got past would fight back on the straight, and then you'd have amazing wheel-to-wheel battle into turn 1. It wasn't a I'm powering by necessarily like DRS. This was more wheel-to-wheel. And yes, then we could all take a little nap as they went through the S's and Dunlop and Degner and Spoon. But then they came out of Spoon like, oh, we're back. And then that made it interesting.
Yeah, but we were seeing, like we said last week, will we see overtakes at the hairpin? Yes, we did. Lap 4, Max gets Lindblad at the hairpin by taking a wide line and then kind of doing the switcheroo, or whatever they call it, the undercut, and came back out. And we were seeing little, like we both hoped, we were seeing overtakes in places we didn't normally see in Suzuka. So when we got to 7, I was like, hang on a minute, Oscar's still ahead. And I didn't think he would be able to stay ahead once the Mercedes had kind of like cut through. And actually, Kimi can't get past Lando either. So hang on a minute. Are we not watching 2 Mercedes driving off into the sunset here? Have we got a bit of a race on our hands? And it was. I mean, George gets Oscar eventually. He did the 130R chicane. I was like, okay, it's done. But then to your point, Oscar got him straight back.
I loved it. I was having trouble marking my notes because when this was happening in the battle before third, the leaders had just crossed the start-finish line, so every time I'd look up at the board, the lap number had changed. But then if it was the leaders, it would happen, and then 4 seconds later we're on the next lap when they'd swap back. Not 4 seconds, a second later. So yeah, I'm with you. I was enjoying the sort of 130R into the chicane, then down the straight, and then there were, and again, we'll get into this more, but there were a lot of very brave overtakes on the outside of turn 1 that were courageous.
Hanging it out around the outside.
Hanging it out there. So yeah.
Now, and I think, again, being the huge expert that I am, that because they can't throw it around the corners on the edge of grip, and they're not taking these corners flat out like they would have done last year, because they're in the harvesting mode and they're going ever so slightly slower, I think that's what gives that opportunity to say, well, you know what? Maybe I'll choose not to harvest as much, and I'm going to go around the outside on turn 1. Right. I think that's what introduced it. That it just gives different opportunities. And then lap 12, lap 11, Kimi gets Lando into the chicane, so now that kind of cork is unleashed. We'll see how Kimi's going to get on. And then Oscar came on the radio to report graining, and I'm a little bit delirious because it's the early hours of the morning. I have a little chuckle to myself, and I end up writing into the notes saying, but I bet he's actually thrilled to actually be in a race so he can actually experience graining, because he hasn't driven a lap yet, so he must be loving getting graining.
He probably was. I loved the fact that the 2 closest battles on track at this moment, like lap 10, a couple laps before this, were for the lead, George and Oscar. And then Charles, Lando, and Kimi were so close through the chicane. They cut to them. I'm like, oh my God, are they going to crash into each other? And they didn't. But those first 2 groups were the closest groups on track. And then, again, we started getting midfield battles. It basically,
Ajar and Lindblad.
Yes, Hadjar was battling everyone the whole day. Every time they cut to Hadjar's on board, there was a car right in front of him, and he had his wing like in the gearbox of the car in front of him.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
it. Sometimes it was Max too. We saw that to start off, some teammate battles, but then Lindblad and Hadjar for 10th, starting on lap 13. That goes until the safety car, because then they boxed, and Lindblad had a slower box right before it. But anyway, that was so much fun watching all of those battles.
Yeah, it was. And then again, I had another little childish giggle to myself. Lap 14, Max came on the radio to, he's upset because he's got a heavy rack. I was like, okay.
Hey now.
Hey now. Then we got Liam Lawson doing the fastest ever set of overtakes from last on the grid to ninth, because all of a sudden Lawson, I'm considering he's retired at this point because he's showing down like 1 minute and 1 second adrift in 22nd spot. And then we turn a corner and he's back up in ninth again. I'm like, whoa, look at those overtake points in fantasy. How's he done that? Transponder issues apparently kept going off the radar and dropping him to the back. So
it happened twice, because later on they didn't even say anything, but he dropped to the bottom, and I'm like, wait, did everyone go up a position? And like, oh, Lawson's dropped. It was actually the second time it happened. It was the same time that the McLaren pit wall lost power and Crofty's microphone went out. So I think there was some magical force happening at this race.
But it really messed them up, because they were talking about Lindblad or whoever was having a battle for 8th, but they weren't really battling for 8th, because Lawson was actually ahead of them and they hadn't seen it.
Right.
So then we had Kimi right up Charles's trumpet, right up there. This is lap 15. He gets him, and we see the same thing again. Charles comes back down to turn 1. Kimi goes a little bit sideways, putting the power down when he tried to. I think what he did was he got him at the chicane, came around that corner and said, right, I know how to counter this now. I've got to go full beans now. And maybe went full beans a little bit too early because he got a little bit squirrely coming out of the corner. And Charles was like, yes, how'd you like them apples? I'm coming through. We then started getting like, well, now we're in that medium to hard switcheroo for the pits. We might want to start coming in. Oscar didn't want to be undercut. It's like, well, who's going to come in then? So Lando comes in. Charles comes in to cover off Lando. And then it's going to be soon, isn't it? Where
Oscar comes in on 19. Yeah. George on 22, and then the minute George leaves the pit lane, they cut to Ollie in the wall. And
we've just skipped over one thing. I mean, right, this is my thing that made me sit up and take notice. Lap 21, Kimi gets George, and now, Kimi gets George's gap down to 2.5 seconds. It had been 3.6, like about a lap and a half before. He's absolutely eating this up. And the commentator, Crofty, comes on and says, right, Kimi's now got to go and make up ground and see if he can chase George down. What he's first got to do, though, is get through some of the traffic that's in his way. And that traffic was Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is no longer a race leading prospect. He's just traffic that needs to be got past. I was like, damn, that Red Bull's not good.
Fair play to Max. He battled him into the chicane, but then when they hit the straight, he just stayed on a straight line, and he knew his race wasn't against Kimi. So he knew that and didn't get in the way. I forgot to also mention that at this point, the Isaac Hadjar, Arvid Lindblad battle was still going. And Lindblad had apparently gotten a black and white flag for moving under braking. We didn't really see that. At least I might have missed it. It was also cheeseball time.
I didn't.
So I didn't. I found some organic cheese balls, and they're quite good. And so I didn't see them moving under braking, but that battle was still going. And then, like I said, George boxed. Yeah, he got hosed. The timing of the
George boxes, and then we get a yellow flag shows up at the top of the screen. Like, okay, I wonder what this yellow flag's going to be all about then.
It's for my boy.
It's not even double waved. It was just yellow, and then they do that director cut where you go to what was the source of the yellow flag. Boom, ass backwards, inner wall bits everywhere. You're like, that's going to be a safety car. And sure as eggs is eggs. About 10 seconds later, safety car thrown, and George was not happy.
Oh, my God.
Not happy in the slightest on the radio. I mean,
so much whinging, to use a British term. It's just nonstop. And, I get it. Yes, you got hosed. The timing was terrible. Nothing you can do about that. You didn't know Ollie was going to crash. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
There'll be times he'll have benefited from a cheap pit stop, and today wasn't one of them. So... Then we saw what was really concerning as they're kind of going around, trundling around after the safety car. We see Ollie Behrman really badly limping away from the scene of the crash. I was like, oh, God, I hope it's not really fractured an ankle or something, because that was a big old shunt. And when we saw the onboard, it was even worse. than I'd realised. So anybody that's been reading anything on Tinterweb since the race will have probably heard about closing speeds. Because everyone's going on about closing speeds. The closing speeds are too high. So what does closing speeds mean? Well, under these regs, we know that some cars can be harvesting, so they won't be going as fast as they should be, and other cars can be in boost or overtake mode and going magic mushroom speeds. And sometimes you're going to get a chance where one car who's going under could be caught by somebody going way over, and that's what's happened to Behrman there. I mean, fair play to him. He's avoided one hell of a shunt at the back of Colapinto by taking to the grass, but then once he's taken to the grass with overtake mode on,
it was over.
Was
that the spoon curve or the hairpin? I can't remember which one they were going into. It was one of the two.
Yes.
Right. And so for anyone on YouTube, I've put on let me redo that. For anyone not on YouTube, I've put on a Haas hat in honor of Ollie and that crash. The onboard was mental at the closing speed as he's coming around the corner in towards the curve, and he's catching up to Colapinto at a rate of knots. There was analysis done even by Io. He even said, no, this is the same pace he was going at. This is the same place that the Alpine of Colapinto was harvesting last lap. We anticipated this. Like, we just closed too fast. Colapinto wasn't on the brakes. It wasn't a brake check. He wasn't going slowly. He did the same thing the lap prior. Ollie just closed too fast is the way Io basically said, and had to take avoiding action. You never, ever, ever want to see two things from this. One is the onboard from Colapinto shows a car sideways going faster than him, out of control, off the track. Like, that's not good. And then two, the limping. I can't remember the last time I'd seen a driver get out with like a significant injury, and this felt like one. When I saw it, I'm like, oh God. And I was like sick to my stomach. I was so happy later on in the race when we found out it was a knee contusion, nothing broken. And then we saw him in the garage, kind of still limping, but in the garage, I'm like, oh, I felt it just, I don't know why, but I was very worked up seeing him, struggling to walk and get out of the car. But yeah, that was wild. And so, no, Colapinto did nothing wrong. Ollie closed fast, 50 G impact, 45 kilometers an hour closing speed. And, man, I'm happy he's all right, and he has time now to heal up. 33 days until I have to lock my next lineup.
And then maybe we could have got the race going a bit quicker if it wasn't for the marshals being equipped with witches' brooms to sweep the track.
I was wondering about that. First of all, can we
I'd fallen asleep and was dreaming. I was like, what is this? It's like Harry Potter does F1?
Yeah, it was a Nimbus 2000. The question I have is, did you see the formation, though? It was excellent. They were wide to narrow, so they were sweeping it in as a group. Like, it's like the snowplows in the Midwest. We'll start from the one lane and the plows follow behind, and they all move it the same way. And so it was excellent in terms of the formation. But why? They can't go to Ace Hardware and get regular brooms? What was the deal with that?
I don't know. It just looked really bizarre.
And I've seen those before in Japan.
Yes, I think I have as well. When I saw them, I was like, yeah, I think we probably made the same joke last time about the... But there we are. So then we got the safety car was going to be ending, and George wasn't finished with his, we'll call it whinging, whatever you want to call it. He's like, on the radio, so is Kimi going to restart like where we've rehearsed? Like,
God, that was so bad.
Just watch. Just like, why do you, even if it was some sort of rehearsal, like, just pay attention to what's going on in front of you and react when it happens. If you've got an idea of where he's going to go, then be ready for it. But it was almost like he was going to go, please, sir, can you tell Kimi to make sure he restarts where we've planned? It's like,
has Kimi agreed to do exactly what we said so it can help me a little bit back here in whatever he was in third? Yeah, third. He lost out to third, right?
I mean, I don't know if they did it where they were supposed to do it or not, but I'm going to say that Kimi probably executed one of the best restarts I've seen for a very long time, because he was gone. Like, I don't know, maybe Oscar was a little bit rusty because this is his first race, but it was more like Kimi went and Oscar was like, oh, we're going, are we? He just lit up and away he went. And Lewis got George on the restart. So if George was expecting the restart, he didn't really pay attention.
And then he's complaining about that. And I'm like, man, what? Like, come on. So Lewis gets George on the restart, just like you say. And then they cut to Max right behind the gas man, and like really behind, like right there. And alongside into corners, backing out at the last minute. So much you could read the BWT on the side pod of the car through Max's onboard. That's how close they were. And I'm thinking, oh, Max is going to have the gas man for lunch, right? Wrong. The gas man held off Max F. Verstappen. Well, it's E, Emilian. Held off Max E. Verstappen for like nearly 30 laps. Not quite, 27 laps, till the end of the race. At the end of the race, they kept cutting back to Max. He's still right behind Pierre. And I'm thinking, boy, that's Pierre's holding on to dear life for the 7th spot and earned it.
So at this point, I wrote that Leclerc was staying in touch with George. He'd had a little look at him, but George had kind of got himself back together and he was going to go on the hunt to Lewis, but he wasn't dropping him. And I said, this isn't playing out as I feared. I thought the two Mercs were going to be involved in battles for the first couple of laps and then drive away into the distance, and we were going to watch George and Kimi duke it out to see who was going to win it. Like, the Merc still seems the best car in free air because Kimi is just disappearing up the road now. But
Agreed.
in the pack, they actually seem to not be as far clear as I'd first thought. So my glass at this point, I'm not sure it was quite half full. Maybe it was at least third full. It was filling up as well. I was like, maybe this is a good sign for the future. Question.
Then cut to Isaac Hadjar again, and Lindblad was behind him. So I'm like, well, who's his problem now? And it's Bortoletto. And it's just now we have 4 laps of Hadjar on boards, often in the little window, as he's trying to get Bortoletto and his red pants on the Audi. Lap 36 finally gets him. I did write, if I'm being honest, after Lance retired, the lap 31, I wrote lull because it felt like you wrote it too?
I wrote, this feels like a hard tire lull because Blum and Pirelli have made a one-stop possible, so everyone's in tire management mode at the moment, making sure they can rest for a bit before they maybe do a charge towards the end. And then I wrote, man, I hate one-stoppers for this very reason.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, we both...
I felt the same, but then to save the day, then George decides to lose a spot to Charles in the weirdest battery issue I've seen, where all of a sudden it's like all the power stopped, and then it all
I
came
thought he
right
was
back.
out.
I thought he was out too. I thought he was retiring. The way Charles went right past him, and then he was right behind him again. I'm like, wait, what? Like, did he do a reboot on the fly, like Control Alt Delete, and then like restart the car? It was so weird the way on lap 37 George lost that spot. And yes, I'm kind of starting to sleep.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I did write at this point as well that other than seeing Bottas unlap himself at the safety car, right now we have Audi, Williams, and Cadillac firmly in witness protection.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a little bit of the Bort in the battle, but that was only fleeting. Those 6 drivers were basically, they didn't take part today.
We didn't see a lot of racing bulls either, except the back of Lindblad's car from Hadjar. I guess we saw him, but
and we saw Lawson jumping up and down the board.
And they had to restart the board too. Every time they lost him, they'd like close it and then it opened back up and he was fine. I'm like, what is going on here? And then lap 41, oh, this was great. I liked this more than I should have. The Ferraris started to battle. George was right behind them, and Crofty actually did, and Jensen Button, they did a pretty good job of explaining the danger the Ferraris were in. Not of necessarily coming together, but of losing time battling each other and George sneaking through on them. They were when you're battling, especially with these regs, you are not using the optimal line, recharging, regeneration approach. Your speeds will be lower, your time will be slower. And so that inherently means you're not attacking the car in front of you. No one's going after Oscar at this point. He's firmly in second, kind of doing his thing. Kimi's way out ahead in first. Oscar's alone in second. And then you got this battle going on. And George, right behind them, well, the wolf on the front of his car is licking its chops as it's saying, who am I going to get now? Because y'all are going to battle each other. And they did. It wasn't quite like China. It wasn't as long. It wasn't 10 laps here and the ding-dong back and forth. Charles admitted in the cool-down room there was contact. I wasn't sure if there was or not. And Charles
when it ran the outside of turn 1?
Mm-hmm. He said,
he said
there was contact there. I thought it was great. And so I enjoyed this. Lando started catching up from 6th, and I'm thinking, boy, are we going to have a 4-way battle for 3rd here? No, but it at least got me excited for a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Lando was arriving on the scene and thought, oh, it's going to get a bit feisty here. George then picked off Lewis, and we were at lap 44 now with about, 53, something like that.
Yep,
so
54.
We've got about 8-9 laps left, and Kimi's 11 seconds clear at this point. He's just absolutely disappearing off into the distance. Lewis has a huge lockup and takes to the chicane off-road, and Lando's on the radio wanting the position back. I'm like, well, you never took him for him to give it back. I mean, it's a bit of a big ask. Because now you're hypothetically saying I would have overtaken him through the chicane if he hadn't have gone to the exit. I'm like, yeah.
I did
have
enjoy,
to be a bit
though,
closer than that.
there was a little bit of symmetry in the 3 battles that we saw, not for all, but for 2. Obviously, you had Lewis and Lando in the middle battle. In the front battle, you had Charles and you had George. And so what was happening is a Ferrari was fighting off another car, Mercedes in Charles's case, and Lando in Lewis's case. And then right behind them, a little bit behind them, was the gas man and Max. And they cut to this view, and Max is 0.4 behind the gas man again. Still there. They're like the same thing. And I mean, much respect to both of them for keeping it clean the whole time. But Max was just, and that was a battle for 7th. So you had the battle for 3rd, 5th, and 7th occurring in 3 pairs of 2, continually battling. I loved it. In that regard, I was having fun. The producers were struggling to figure out which one to show in the big box and little box. And the lull it ended.
We had George was taking a nibble at Charles, but I was convinced he was going to get him. But fair play to Charles, he just kept holding him off. Lando got Lewis, but then Lewis got him straight back again, and we saw the same thing. Lap 49, Max got Gasman, but Gasman got him straight back again. It was the, like you say, symmetry across all those battles. So I was looking at it. We were lap 50. I was like, right, 4 laps for Charles to hold on to a podium now. I'm like, he's going to lose it, isn't he? We're not going to get another Ferrari on the podium this week. On lap 51, he gets him, and I was like, he's not going to get him back. But he does. He got him back. He got him back into turn 1, and then right behind Lewis and Lando did exactly the same thing again. Lando got Lewis, and Lewis got him back again. Sorry, all the other way around. And I was like, wow, okay. Lando makes it stick. He's too far back. He's not going to go and chase down George. George just looked like he was running out of ideas. He just didn't seem that he could actually put anything on Charles. So Kimi won by about 3 years. Oscar turned his first competitive start of the season into 2nd place on the podium, which was really, really encouraging to see that it wasn't a nailed-on Merc 1-2. And Charles held off George.
He did.
I didn't think he was going to do it. 10 laps it was for him to hold him behind. I thought, this Merc's too good. He's not going to be able to do it.
You're right. Charles did hold off George. I was surprised. Lando did get that spot, as you say, on lap 52 from Lewis. Pierre held off Max by finally, as they crossed the line, 0.3. So even closer than before. And then we had Liam and Esty Bestie coming through to close the top 10 and get some points. Man, so like, you and I talked about this during the week, and I think you said it already, but I just want to put a pin in it. Mercedes looks to be the best car in open air by a mile, but in a pack, they're not as far ahead as we may have thought they were. They can work through, but it takes time. It's not like 5 laps and they're out and they run away by a million miles. George couldn't get Charles at the end, and Oscar looked pretty good in free air when he had time. And so I'm wondering, and we also talked
couldn't make a dent in Kimi.
He did not at all. You're right.
Yeah.
So like there is definitely
if that Merc gets free,
they're gone.
Do you think it's kind of good night Vienna? It's like
I agree. But if they don't get free, if you can hold them in a pack and keep them close, I think that we can see battles. The thing I read that McLaren has all these upgrades planned for Miami with this break, I think they're doing better than we thought they were coming into this weekend. And I think McLaren-Ferrari is a tie. And I think once Mercedes is in the pack with them, that's also pretty close. Mercedes gets the nod. But once the Mercedes gets that free air, like you say, it's over. Like there's no catching them. There's nothing you can do. There's no way to catch them. But I do like the fact that we have 3 teams at the front and that the battles are close. We're not seeing necessarily the Noah's Ark at the front anymore like we were maybe during quali, but not as much during the race. And these cars were all tied up and they were battling the whole time. They follow very closely. Unfortunately, the Pirelli tires never go off, and so you can just follow right behind the whole race. And then it becomes a battle for best of the rest, and you have to put Red Bull in the rest at this point.
Yeah, I think you absolutely do. So I think you've summed that up nicely. So should we fire up the king of the pits and crown our king this week?
We shall do it.
Hey, you're the king of the pit.
Bob, you want to go first or shall I?
After you this week, so I think I went first for the King last week.
I'm going to give it to Kimmy. It's where I'm wearing my Mercedes hat, even though it says 44 for the YouTubers. I'll look down. You can see the Lewis on the brim. It is Kimmy for me. That was a professional drive and recovery from a bad start. A bad start which saw him fall back to 6th, worked his way through the field. Yes, he was helped by a safety car. I acknowledge that. Did that help him win the race? Yes, it helped him win the race. But is that how racing works? Yeah, that's also yes. Am I going to keep asking myself questions and answering them like this? I don't know. And so for me, I give it to Kimmy. That was a professional drive from a young kid who shows he's comfortable in a leading team, a leading car.
Yeah, and I would give it to him for all the same reasons that you just said, but I won't. I'm going to give it to Oscar.
Yeah.
Because hasn't had any racing experience this year, hasn't really got a chance to put these cars into battle in a racing environment. And I thought, is there a chance? We didn't really cover this. Is there a chance he was on for a race win before the safety car?
Yes.
Because no one was catching him. He was keeping George 1.9 behind constantly.
Yes.
So,
I referenced it quickly. When he had free air, clear air, he looked good.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you meant by that? I mean, that deep insight that you gave us, right? Okay.
I don't have to explain everything to you.
Right. The pits.
I'm struggling with this one already ahead.
You're the pits.
Man, I don't know.
Well, it's me first, and I know, so you get a little bit more thinking time.
I'm going to need it.
I got to give it to Williams because in the top, how many of the top 10 cars are powered by a Mercedes?
Right.
Quite a lot of them, right?
Well,
so the Mercedes
but
engine
Ferrari.
is...
I mean, Mercedes, McLaren, Pierre.
Yeah, so that Mercedes engine is really good, right? So it takes something special to be right at the back and stink the place out. Behind the Albon finished, I know he had problems. Well, we assume he had problems, but he finished behind Cadillac and Aston. I think did he finish dead last?
Yeah, 2 laps down. Correct. He was the last finisher. 2 laps down.
2 laps down. Carlos didn't really do anything either. We never saw a Williams on TV because they were never either being overtaken or overtaking anybody. They were just full-on witness protection. And much as it pains me because I do have a soft spot for Williams, they're my pets this week.
My last note from the race before the cool-down room was this was a test session for Caddy, Aston Martin, and Williams. And by Williams, I really meant Albon. I wrote Albon, not just Carlos, because Carlos was at least ahead of Colapinto. And he was 6 seconds back of Lindblad. And, at least he was racing. Albon wasn't even racing. The Aston Martins weren't even racing. The Cadillacs really weren't racing. They were getting better. They were all working on test sessions, basically, using the race. Yeah. And the fact that Williams and Albon have to use the third race of the year as a test session because their car is fatter than I am at this point is utterly ridiculous. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to give it to Williams as well. I appreciate it. So, literally, my note, Albon, Caddy, Aston, testing it out at the end of the race. And so I'll give it to, not just Albon, I'll give it to Williams as well.
Okay, look at us agreeing. It's, right. But now we need to hear from the man that knows all of this way better than us. Do you have Mr. Pitlane's Paul music queued up and ready to rock?
He's Mr. Pitside.
Here is Pitlane Paul's report.
Hey now, and that was Japan 2026. Where to start? It was okay. Friday there, Saturday there, Max going out of qualifying there. That's sort of all it was, and then sort of led into being what was the race. And I don't want to say nothing really happened. So I don't think that's fair because it was actually a half decent race. It wasn't. Well, you know what I mean. It was okay. Is it the greatest race I'll ever see? No, but I think it's sort of you got back to a bit more of the proper racing. I mean, Ollie Behrman's crash was pretty frightening. I mean, that's as big and high speed as you ever really want to see on a crash. That was pretty severe. Aside from that, nah. I mean, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. It was okay. I think it was a good race. I think the problem is you know, we're sort of focusing on where we are, which is down the back. We had all kinds of issues, I think. I mean, like I said, the fact we finished another race for both cars is, again, just a ridiculous achievement. And I think people need to remember that. You know, if anyone's thinking, well, you know, yeah, they're in, but they're dog slow. Yes, we're dog slow. But like I said, so Aston Martin, and they're a team that have been around for years, so keep it in perspective. Great to see Kimi win again. Is he going to be the favourite for the championship? You know, it's... He's doing all the right things at the moment. And then, yeah, good to see Oscar actually start a race and finish a race, really. Well, I mean, you can't finish if you don't start, I guess. But apart from that, yeah, it's all... We're going for a month off now, an unforced month off. It's a bit sad, but it can't be helped. It really can't be helped. We can't do anything about it. It's disappointing. We're going to miss Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, but I think the main important thing is that people are actually safe over there, and so on and so forth. So, you know, we have to put that first, unfortunately. Then, yeah, I'm just in the car now on the way to Osaka. Traffic is horrendous around the circuit, as it always is. And, yeah, kind of... I don't know if it was a good race or not. I think you're probably sensing that by this message. I don't actually know if it was good or bad. So let's say it was good. Let's be positive, say it was good. Because I think it was quite good racing towards the end with George and a few overtakes in the last few laps. So, you know, positivity probably wins here. It didn't have the Mario Kart feel about it, I don't think. It felt like a bit more like a proper car race, if that makes sense. I don't know. But, anyway, there you go. I'm sure you two will have debated this till the cows come home. And sadly, we won't be seeing any cows in the Middle East next week, as just mentioned. And I will leave it on that note. So, yeah, next race, Miami. Wow. That's going to go around very fast, unfortunately. But in the meantime, I am going to enjoy a month off. I am going to enjoy, you know, being at home. I love Japan. It's a fantastic country. Very limited though. You just, you know, it's, yeah, get me home. Ciao.
It won't come around that fast.
Pitlane Paul.
Yeah, exactly. It won't come around that fast for us, Paul. Paul, thank you as always for the report from the track. It won't come around that fast for me. It's going to be a long month. I'll just say that. And Rob, for us, Miami is a month away, and then 3 weeks after that, it's Canada. Canada in baseball terms. If Miami is at the plate now, Canada's on deck, baby. We are close. We're almost there. I'm so not ready to go to a race. It feels like it's so far away.
I know, and it's catching us out because it's May this year. It's been June, hasn't it? The last couple of times we've been, so got to get that. Does that mean the poncho packing priority is higher because May's more likely to bring the rain? I don't know.
I don't know about poncho. We may need like warm gear this year, like not just water gear. We may need like some warm stuff. We may need, dare I say, pants, like jeans.
Right, let's fire up Cadillac Corner to bring a little bit of optimism to cheer Paul up, because I picked out a couple of things to,
all right,
you know, cheer him up.
Let's do it.
It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner.
All right. Cheer Paul up.
Okay, so cheer Paul up. Second race in a row that both cars finished. Okay, which we're saying is an achievement. They should be proud of that because they're finishing races and others aren't. If you're looking for little small incremental steps forward, Sergio Perez, it was by the tightest of margins because I think one more lap and Kimi would have had him, but Sergio technically finished on the lead lap, which is the first time this season that Cadillac have done that. Last race, both of them finished, but both Sergio and Valtteri were a lap down. Sergio was on the lead lap. If you're looking for little incremental successes to tick off, then there's one right there.
He was a minute and 32.4 behind, and a fast lap at the end was like a minute 33. So you're right. He was
like right up the road as Kimi crossed the line. He was just right there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I didn't know we hadn't had a caddy on the lead lap. SAP stats and Vale's values. I don't know. I couldn't come up with another V or anything like that, but that works. That works.
Well, talking of SAP stats, I think it's over to you. You've got a couple.
I do. I do have a couple. Not that many because of I was jump starting a car. But we'll do this. Sapstats loud version of the mariachi music from Mexico, but we're in Japan, but I didn't have anything else at my fingertips edition for 26. All right. So yes, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of Sapstats. My daughter's car died. I had to go jump the battery and get that running. So
you had battery issues.
I did. Like Crofty's headset and McLaren's pit wall, and the transponder for Lawson wasn't working, and no one was having super clipping. I think that was my problem. My daughter was racing, and super clipping occurred, and the battery died.
Probably, yeah.
The youngest leader, as we heard multiple times, of the F1 World Championship, Kimi Andrea Antonelli, 19 years, 7 months, 4 days old. The previous leader, as far as I can tell now, there's a little debate amongst Andy Tales and myself on this one over Twitter. I have it as previously Lewis Hamilton, 22 years, 4 months, 6 days old, in Spain in 2007. Andy thought it was 23 years old and that he was tied with, I think, Seb. But I'm going to say Kimi's taking it from Lewis. Interestingly, the oldest driver to ever lead the F1 World Championship, Juan Manuel Fangio, was 46 years, 2 months, 15 days old in Italy, 1957. 46 years old. There's hope for you yet, Fernando. Maybe not in this car. One thing that wasn't talked a lot about was Kimi got a hat trick in this race.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he had pole position, the fastest lap, and the win. We obviously saw the win. We knew he started on pole and then went backwards. He did not lead every lap, so it's not a grand slam. It's a hat trick. That is his second hat trick. I didn't even know he got one last time at China, so that's pretty cool. Wow. Just for anyone's benefit, the most hat tricks all time, Michael Schumacher, 22. So he's got a little ways to go.
A little way to go, yeah.
But it's also like, he's a kid. It's the first Italian driver to have 2 wins in a row since Ascari in 1953. Wow. Was Ascari's nickname Ciccio? Am I thinking? Do you remember we did a Veil's Tales?
We did a Veil's Tale. It sounds about right.
I can't remember.
Just go with it.
Go with it. My last note as we go into the talk a little bit about the standings is, if you can believe it, Red Bull is now 6th in the championship. 6th. Red Bull. Yeah. Not 3rd, not battling for 2nd. 6th. Do you know that they're behind Alpine?
And Haas.
And Haas. But Haas was already up there, and Ollie had been 5th.
No, I know.
But 6th. I just wanted to highlight that was a shocker to me as they came across, and I realized what that meant. So those were the brief mariachi version of Sapstats for Japan.
Okay, well now we need to go and look at casino game.
As we're thinking of casino games, can I just ask quickly on predictions? I predicted George, Kimi, Charles.
Yep.
You predicted Kimi, George, Lewis. So I win predictions, right? Because you got Kimi right.
You don't win. You just got more points than me this week. So we score all the points over the
correct.
season.
But so you get 3 points for Kimi in the right spot. I get 3 points for Charles in the right spot. But I also had Kimi up there, so I get an extra point. You had no one else. You
beat me 4-3 this week on that. I beat you 5-2 last week, so I'm still beating you in the overall predictions score at the moment, though.
Oh
my gosh, you're so desperate for a win. Okay, fine, we'll get ready with that music, sir.
Oh, God.
Right, roulette wheel. It was 11th we had to pick. I went Sainz, you went Albon. We both missed.
Oh, boy. We really, really missed badly on that one.
We really believed way too much in Williams.
At least Sainz was battling. We should give you a fraction of a pity point.
It's fine. Then we had Blackjack. You went for Hamilton and Behrman. So Behrman scored you nothing. Hamilton got you 8 points, and 8 was enough. I beat you 7-0 on the first hand. Then we had the China hand where neither of us won because you went bust and I got 0. So will 8 points be enough to win?
Who'd you have?
Leclerc and Gasly, which gives me a perfect 21 points. Fire up the music.
Wait, you had Leclerc and Gasly? I didn't have
15 and 6. 15 and 6 is 21.
Well, here's your music for you.
Yeah, I knew it. There it is. There it is. Brian doesn't like not to win.
Oh, man. Damn, I remember. Did I take them in China? And I said the 2 best friends, and then you stole my move this week?
Let's have a look. No, you've not picked either of those in any of your hands. You've had Hadjar and Ocon, Antonelli and Bottas, and Hamilton and Behrman. always got to try to find that you were almost the winner, haven't you? Or did I pick them last week? No,
I hate
no,
being
you didn't.
that far off. I just hate being that far off. All right, well, congratulations to you on your blackjack. That's very impressive.
On that crushing, is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, can we end the pod
Right,
now?
okay. Coming to the end now. So, okay, what does that mean? That's our standings. In the real world, in the real standings, Kimi, as Brian already said, takes the lead, 72 points to George's 63. Charles is on 49, Lewis is on 41, and Lando and Oscar are tucked up behind on 25 and 21. That's kind of the top six, and it's the 2x2s. It's the Noah's Ark of drivers. And then in constructors, it's kind of like, because of that 2x2ing, Mercedes have got 135, so they're like 45 clear of Ferrari, who've got 90, who are 44 clear of McLaren, who've got 46. It's like, it's just all spaced out. And then it's a massive gap down to Haas, who've got 18, and we already talked about Alpine and Red Bull and everyone else. Cadillac technically get 10th, because I guess must be factored on best finish or something like that.
Yeah, it is. It usually goes best finish. Remember when Valtteri helped Sauber get a fifth in like... the racetrack in Italy that's not Milan. Help me out. It's not Monza. It's
not Monza. Emilia
Romagna. Right. I almost said Mugello, but that's wrong. Well, why can't I remember? Imola. Look at us remembering names. Yeah, Valtteri had like a fifth there and put Sauber.
Well, no, if you get fifth, you get points. So.
Yeah. What?
If you get fifth, you get points.
A million years ago, his best finish broke the tie for Sauber with someone else. Alfa Romeo with someone else.
I mean, next time that you want to bring a big hard-hitting story like that, you might want to like look into it before you mention it.
I'm going to come through this video and strangle that man. Fantasy. Let's talk about fantasy. This actually, here's my redemption. Here's the redemption arc that I needed. In Japan.
Oh, good.
Everyone has a price. Mark, my friend Mark, in first place. Nice job. 366 points ahead of FanAmp Fantasy HQ. Adam, great job, Adam. Second, 364. A lot of people using the Limitless chip. 44th gear, Gavin. Crash a Pinto Motorsports, Renato, great job. Then, a young man out of the Midwest, a rising star in the Formula One podcast scene, Brian Saperstein. Dirty Side Sap, fifth. Carl, asking for a miracle. The Mexfin Cartel, Matt. Max and his boys, Pullman. LBD 2026, still chaotic, Beth, and then Box Squared Quinton in 10th. And you may say, Sapdog, what does that mean for the overall situation? I usually only do the top three at this point, so let's just do that. The FanAmp, Fantasy HQ Adam, an expert, a guru, in first. In second place, 44th gear Gavin, and right behind him, Dirty Side Sap, third in the league. You know it, baby.
Nice, well done.
I've made myself feel better. Thank you.
You have, yeah. So I was just going back to my blackjack hand. Okay, right. So we haven't got a race to talk about.
No.
We've got a couple of potential guests lined up, so hopefully we can make one of those happen next week. So that will automatically give us something to talk about, because there's going to be few and far between things to talk about. Maybe there'll be some news. But before we close out, I just did want to do the thing I put a pin in right at the beginning, because I want your opinion on this, right?
Yeah.
Now, we could go all clickbaity and kind of have a whole episode entitled
Max.
Formula One is over, or whatever.
Yeah.
But so Max is saying that he might retire at the end of the year, and there's a lot of debate. Oh my gosh, I might need to stay off threads because it's just going a little bit toxic now, because you're not allowed to have an opinion if it doesn't align with everyone else's. But for me, Formula One is at this really, really weird juncture right now where we've moaned about for years DRS just breeze by overtakes, and Pirelli bring too many hard tyres, and which it's tyre management snooze fests. Me and you have written that in the notes.
Yep.
Multiple times. We've had to try to sit here and review races where there's nothing to talk about because the tyres lasted too well and everyone was in a never-ending DRS train of like the whole grid was all like 0.75 of a second behind each other, right? And everyone was moaning about it. So F1 have tried to do something. They've tried to come up with new regs. And whether you like these regs or not, whether you want V10s, whether you don't believe it should be 50-50, we've got this weird situation right now where Sunday is undoubtedly more exciting than it was last year because overtakes are happening. And because you can respond, it's not that the DRS breeze by happens and you're powerless and you can't do anything about it. You've got a good chance of going back after the car that comes past you, right? But it doesn't feel Formula One because
Right.
it's not on the edge. It's not like, we've heard Lando talked about it. What was his quote after the race where they said, it's more enjoyable for the fans? And he went, yeah. And he said, and more enjoyable for you? Or he made some comment where he was like, what? No, we're not enjoying it. The drivers are not enjoying these regs. The fans are getting a show. It feels semi-artificial, but it's definitely better than DRS. So they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. They had to change something because DRS was killing this sport. I went on many Rob's rants about DRS. If you go before that, we had the turbo hybrid and we had Mercedes just driving off into the distance, and everybody said it's a snooze fest because we just got cars dominating. And go back before that, and we had Schumacher winning everything. Like, Formula One has always had this thing where everyone can always tell everybody what's wrong with the product. Right now, it feels like too many people are looking back at the last regs with these rose-tinted glasses going, oh, these regs suck. We should go back to what we had. But I don't know. Where are you on this, Brian? Because we've just spent an hour talking about stuff where we've had battles all the way down the track. We've had Max fighting Gasman forever. We've had the front. We've had challenges for the lead up until Kimi drove off into the distance. We didn't do this last year. Japan was a snooze fest, and we had to make up stuff to talk about. But it's not quite Formula One on the edge.
Right. No, I'm with you. I mean, I think two things, an intelligent person can recognize that two things can be true, even if they're slightly different, and they go in different directions. Our Sundays, I'll go plural, our Sundays more enjoyable than they were the last few years? I think so. I do. I agree with you. However, is it due to the kind of racing we expect from Formula One? No. It's not flat out. It's not all driver challenge and skill. It's not the driver with the most courage going into corners. It's engineering. It's the same problem you had with the fantasy game last year that was algebra. This is engineering. It's how can you get the car around the track the fastest, not not by driving the fastest. You go slower in the corners. You harvest. You need battery. Yeah, we're getting good racing because of it. But does it feel sort of artificial a little bit to me? Yeah, it does. And that's my struggle. That's like, for me, of the three races so far, watching the cars coming out of Spoon Curve and going up and then into 130R and then listening to the engines rolling back while they were still at foot to the floor. Yeah, that's the downside for me. That part of it, the artificial, the engineering aspect to it. And when I say engineering, I don't mean building the best car. I mean like there are engineers on the pit wall saying, slow down now, harvest now, do this now, the battery engineering. So that's my struggle, but it's also what we have. Like, they're not going to say, you know what, bring out your cars from last year at the next race and we're going to go back. That's not going to happen. So
even if it did, it would be worse because we'd be back to DRS.
Sunday would be worse, right?
Yes.
And so I am begrudgingly enjoying what we have because it ain't going to change tomorrow. And so I will take the Sundays of fun. I will enjoy these overtakes. Do they feel slightly contrived at times in terms of how they arrived in the back and forth and the charge on, charge off? And yeah, a little bit. But you know what? I'm here for racing. And it's given it to me. Yeah. And if you want to tell me it's not as tough as it was last year, tell that to Ollie Behrman, who can barely walk because his knee's all messed up from going to the wall at 50 Gs. It's still racing. It's still serious. They still wear fire suits because it's dangerous. So, yeah, I'm sorry. That's a long answer to your question, but it's complicated.
And that's exactly where I'm coming from as well, which is why I wanted your view on it, because it is that sort of torn feeling of how I'm seeing everything I wanted that I used to criticize DRS for being replaced by something which is not just breezed by and the guy in front can't do anything about it. Charles held off George spectacularly in the last 10 laps today. In a DRS era, wouldn't have done that because George would have just lined him up on the straight and be gone. So there's that. I don't like the not flat out bit. I don't like this, to your point, like drivers with the most skill looking how to throw it in deep at a corner and somehow pull off some amazing overtake around the outside, somehow getting more grip than the tyres could possibly demand. We don't have that. But
not as much. We still do. Like we saw Charles and Lewis do it at the end, but it's more rare.
The bit that I think I'd like to see them, if there's any potential they could change it in these regs, is to do what you just mentioned it, and Lando referenced it. The drivers aren't in control anymore as much as they used to be. They're not the ones that decide when to deploy the battery. So he was saying that when he was chasing Lewis down into 139, he lifted off the throttle because otherwise he would have driven into the back of him. The moment he lifts off, that then sends a signal to the computer that when he puts his foot down again, it automatically deploys the battery. He's like, but I don't want to deploy the battery now. I want to lift off to follow Lewis through this. And then when I go at the next point, then I want full battery to go for it. But the way this is all out of his hands is they say they don't know what's going to happen when they put their foot down. They don't know if they're going to get just engine power. Are they going to get the battery when they don't want it? They have the boost button, which is their control, but everything else is being managed either behind the scenes by the computer or, like you said, the engineers on the pit wall telling them how to drive. How can an engineer on a pit wall be the one that's telling an elite driver what is the fastest way round a lap? It's what the driver exists for, to work that out. And this is I'm with you.
22 of the best in the world, and they're being hamstrung by the battery. But they're doing what they can with it, and we're getting really good battles. We're getting 10-lap battles, 15-lap battles with Max sitting right behind Pierre. Are these go-karts? Yeah. But, I mean, you're watching 22 of the best drivers in the world make the best of what they got. And that last thing, just to close this, yes, Matt, the rumors, you referenced it briefly. We said we'd make it a sandwich, Japanese sandwich with Max bread, Japanese race Grand Prix sandwich with Max bread. The Max may retire at the end of this year. Rumors have been really strong for the last 10 hours. They were strong before that, but as the race concluded, all of these are coming out of nowhere. And yeah, I got people texting me it. It's a good question. Yeah, we've talked about this almost every week. Max wants to drive whatever it is as fast as he can, and he's not allowed to do that right now. And he has to, like, to your point, lift at times he doesn't want to lift, and that's bumming him out, man. He's annoyed. He doesn't like driving this way, and his car stinks. Like, it is a midfield car. He's with Pierre, and he's with Ali as best of the rest at this point. And he was out qualified by his teammate, so it's going to be fascinating. But we have time left. I could see him walking away if he really gets disgusted through the year. Okay.
Yeah. Next.
Right. Like, I mean, that'd make me sad watching Max leave the grid. But if he chose to go race, hypercars or do other things, or just leave racing and be a dad and a husband and a partner to his family, great, good for him. Like, he's earned that right.
Yeah, exactly. And there'll always be the next person to come along. Formula One just needs to tread carefully, I think, is the one thing though around these regs, because there are lots of people in lots of circles all pushing back against these regs, with the drivers, whether it's the teams, whether it's the fans. It's yet the Formula One bosses will be sitting back going, but the product feels better? Question. Yeah. But anyway, let
me close on this.
We could pick an off week to talk about that.
Yeah, we can. I want to close on this last note. I saved this for the end for some fun. So Kimi was not given champagne on the podium. He was given rose water because he's under 20, which is the drinking age in Japan. Everyone else had champagne, bar Kimi. And it brought back this all-time radio message to a different Kimi.
You will not have the drink.
Guys, thanks for listening. We will talk to you in 1 week's time when we'll be 1 quarter into a long spring break hiatus. Be well, everyone. You will not have the drink.